don't want to cut anybody out of this fun. So if there are other teachers left over from the project, Wendy, you were on it, Vic, Laura, and Jim, if you are interested in helping out Lynn and myself, oh, we'd love that. Oh, you're muted.
Yeah, did you talk any bit about how you might do, like what that might look like? What are some ideas that you came up with how you could do that together?
Well, this year I've been working here in Hawaii, and we have a platform that's called Edmodo.
Uh-huh.
You know about Edmodo?
Yeah, some of our CPS uses that here. Mm-hmm.
And it's a safe social network for students and teachers, and teachers can monitor the discussion. They can throw polls out. They can do all sorts of very interesting things, and then teachers can go in and lurk, or they can, give grades or whatever. So Edmodo is really an excellent and safe way, and we've been having a lot of success with that, with collaborating between classrooms here. So I thought that might be a way that we could do it. I see Wendy, me too. Are you on Edmodo?
No, I'm not, but I'm willing to help you in any way I can.
Excellent, excellent. So Edmodo is becoming this big educational social network because all the schools in Hawaii are, you may not use Facebook. So, and we can't even go in, it's all blocked. So too bad we lose.
Well, as the mother of a teenager and friends with several of her friends, there's good reason for that. It's not safe. But that's great that look what's coming out of that challenge and that obstacle is to develop technology that can be helpful, because there are a lot of benefits to some of those components of social media.
And yay, Laura Orr, you can Edmodo. Yahoo! Okay.
Awesome. Well, does anybody from the Helio viewers want to review for us?
Do you want me to give a summary and then you guys can step in and elaborate afterwards maybe? So we started by going through helioviewer.org, which is an online tool. We did a brief introduction to that. That's a website that is pretty straightforward to use and explore. You basically can make movies of the sun and upload them to YouTube. And then we spent much more time using the JHelioViewer application, which you download off the internet from jhelioviewer.org. So one is HelioViewer, the other one is JHelioViewer, and we went through a lot of details on using the different tools and techniques that you can use to make your own really interesting movies, multi-layered movies of the sun. So I know that Laura posted one to Widgio earlier, so go and check that out. And we almost finished our tutorial. There's still a few more things that we could go through. So I'm thinking that I might just try and write it up at some stage and have like a step-by-step. There's also, actually, let me just pull this up. There is a great tutorial, an online tutorial on how to use it right here. So this is a YouTube video that goes through all the different features of JHelioViewer, and then this is some of the demo movies that you can use right here. And there's one more link I want to post. Where did it go? So this is the JHelioViewer handbook. So this is worth a read for anybody, even those who weren't involved in the tutorial. This handbook, I would highly recommend if you want to use it, have a read through it and see what you can do. It basically goes through many of the different features we talked about today, and about how you go from picking a date to turning it into a very cool movie that you can use yourself. So that was my point of view. So hopefully somebody else can step in and elaborate from the end user perspective.
Claire, I'll add that YouTube piece to our to the notes too.
Okay. And you add the handbook as well, because
I did find that online as well.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I found it really useful. I really enjoyed going through it and downloaded it onto my computer. And I have a PC versus the Mac that Claire was using. So which is fine. But what she was showing on the screen when she was sharing her screen was pretty much the same thing that I was seeing on my screen, just in a small format difference, but not a whole lot. It's fun. I was messing around with it for a while during the break when we got cut off with the second session that we were doing, and kind of got addicted to it.
I know. You want to be careful. You got to give yourself a cutoff time.
Yeah. I find that I'm going to have to do that. My ADD is going to be kicking in, and so I'm going to have to set my timers again. But yeah, it's way cool. Thank you so much for showing us.
Good. I'm really keen to see the kind of movies that you and your students all come up with. So as you make these videos, be sure to provide us with YouTube links, or upload them to Widgio if you can.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
That goes for everybody. Feel free to share.
Yeah. So thank you very much, Claire. It was wonderful.
You're more than welcome. And I also sent out my email address, or you can look me up here. If you have questions when you're using it and you encounter problems or issues, just send me an email, and if I can't answer it, I'll get in touch with the developer and he'll tell me what the answer is. So I was working with Wendy earlier, who was having some technical difficulties. So we're going to deal with hers through the developer, and hopefully we'll be able to get that up and running for her sooner rather than later. Anybody else have any feedback on HelioViewer?
I know Laura was up and running fast. She was checking those puppies out. She was having a good time.
Really fun. Really fun.
Yeah, it was fun, and I really, once I got into it, I mean, it can be very addictive, but I think it's another way to show the different wavelengths and the layers for a teaching point of view. Plus, the art integration possibilities, I think, would be phenomenal. So I'm just anxious to get back to it. So
good.
I was really excited to see the difference for the wavelengths, and how by changing the contrast and the opacity and stuff like that, that is going to be so great for the students to be able to work with that. And they are. Some of them are really, really artistic. So
it'd be great. It'd be great. So Jim brought up an interesting point when we were doing this. He was asking if there had been any lesson plans developed around JHelioViewer, and I wanted to ask the rest of the group if anybody knew of any. I certainly don't. I'm happy to ask the developer, although I don't think he may not know because he's not in education public outreach. But if anybody else either has, if you know of one already, or if you decide to build one yourself around JHelioViewer, feel free to share it out, or try and get some collaborations going amongst a number of people who might come up with a communal lesson plan. We might be able to do something very cool.
I'm working on one with that little movie that I made.
Yeah, cool.
With the magnetometer event, so I'll let everybody know when I get it done.
Good.
So Wendy, are you looking at the magnetometer events and then matching it, and then using the date feature to go and look at? Oh, that's so cool. Now see there, that was my one. It's it's very exciting and colorful and wow, but what's the, once they get done with playing with it, how can we look at what, I know Claire knows because that's what she works with, but, how could we use that most effectively with the students?
Well, it's such a wonderful exploration tool. It's a tool that you can really kind of, you teach them how to use it and then let the students figure it out. And there's just so much information in there that it could be a very investigative kind of a lesson that you could do, because pretty much everything they encounter is going to be new and will generate questions and inquiry, and it's a great inquiry based learning tool, in my opinion. I'm not a teacher and have never written a lesson plan in my life, so you can tell me I'm wrong, but that's my take on it.
I totally agree with you, Claire, and that's where I was going. I was like, this is completely inquiry-based to say, be able to hone in on that area and go, look, something is happening here. What I would need as somebody who is not, yet very well-versed in helioscience is so I love Wendy's idea of using the magnetometer data to be able to match up with that. But otherwise, there isn't any numerical data, like some measurement data to say, and when you see this is, these are the things that we know, kind of thing. And so, clearly it's a tool, it's an enhancement to what we're already doing. I could see it as that, to be like, okay, we're talking about numbers and events. Here's what it looks like. This is what that represents. Does that make sense? So I love that Wendy was talking about that magnetometer piece. I would love to hear from the group. But clearly, I'm excited. I was like, ooh, how can I incorporate this into the GEMS kit? So that's what I would want to know as to what will the students be able to find from that?
Well, the great thing so I'm biased because I always think the stuff is fascinating. But some things to maybe explore are, if you look at the SDO HMI magnetogram images, so instead of using AIA, you switch it to HMI, and then you can look at the magnetogram images and look at the magnetic field on the sun, and maybe you could incorporate this into some investigations around magnetism and about how magnetic fields work, and connect the magnetic field images, so black is one polarity, white is the other polarity, and superimpose a coronal image on top of that shows the loops coming out of that, and then you can connect that to the kind of bar magnet iron filings kind of image, and you can to show that magnetic fields are present throughout the entire universe, that it's not just on your bar magnet, that they're everywhere, and that could be kind of incorporated as part of a different work activity, as opposed to trying to build an activity around this solely, if you know what I mean. It could be a tool for elaboration as well as being a standalone thing. Andy, you're muted.
Yeah, I was just saying great. I've been talking, and if I keep waving my hand, there is an annoying fruit fly that has decided right here, right now is the time, so I apologize. I'm not feeling very sympathetic. Oh, yeah, Sally pointed out the tracking feature is also great. And so, Claire, will that, this is an appropriate place to ask this, and I don't mean to commandeer the conversation. I'm completely thrilled with what you showed us today. That tracking feature, can you set it up so that over the next 2 weeks, it will just track that spot, or just over a period of time you set it for? Maybe that's
no, because it won't. You can't set it to run into the future, but okay. It takes data that has already been downloaded, so it's almost real time. It's within a couple of hours. So you can say everything from now back 2 weeks I want to look at, but you can't say, all right, I'm going to set it running now and it's going to download the data every day. You have to do it in the past, not in the future. That's okay. You can say, I want everything from now back 2 weeks, and I want to track this one active region because we think this is where the coronal mass ejection came from that produced the change in the magnetometer data, and we're going to look at the solar flare and see, did we see any changes in the magnetic field, or maybe going back to the magnetic field pictures, looking at a big solar flare, coronal mass ejection, taking a look at the magnetic field and the active regions beneath where those big events erupt from, and especially starting a couple of days beforehand and watching the changes in the magnetic field in the lead up to these events. It would be very cool if you could start to see structural changes that ended up in a big solar flare. And that would be, again, to go back to, as a component of a different project, or, dealing with a way of getting at how much energy is held in magnetic fields, because the magnetic field breaks and releases the energy, which causes the solar flare and the coronal mass ejection. So it's like this sort of ever-growing kind of level of detail that you could, in theory, go and explore with your kids. Or yourself, if you just open your computer. It never makes it into the classroom.
Either way, right? I want to switch gears real quick, and let's all take a second to say goodbye to Sally. And Sally, you have been such a valuable member of this community this week and the last couple of days, and we're so glad that you were part of this group.
Well, thank you. I'm off to a rehearsal, and so it's been great. So I'll be in touch with you people.
Awesome.
Bye, Sally.
Bye.
Thank you.
And along those lines, both Jane and Lynn had let me know that they needed to leave a little early today too, so which is why they're not on here. And unfortunately, I forgot to mention that earlier, so we didn't have the opportunity to say goodbye to them as a group. So, Jane and Lynn, goodbye.
Goodbye. We could take a screenshot of all of us waving. We could post it on Wiki. Yeah.
Post it on Wiki. I love it.
Because I'll find that way that you can tile. I can see all of you at one time. I just discovered it by accident.
I just discovered that too. Okay, everyone wave.
Okay, if everybody waves, I'll take a screenshot.
Yay.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, thanks, Nancy. Good. We can post it on Wikio and to Jane and Lynn. That's awesome.
Wait, how do you tile all the photos?
Up in your right-hand corner of your big window, Dar, there's like the make it a full screen icon, right, with the arrows going the 4 directions, and right next to it is that 9 square. Punch it. Well, don't punch it. Click it. Don't punch your computer.
Okay.
Oh, that's not a Mac thing.
Yeah, no, I have a Mac.
Where? I don't have any.
Let me share my screen. I'll show you. Okay, that's not what you want to see. Oh, you know what? I can't because I
won't share with you.
I can't show you.
Yeah. So hang on, describe it again, Andy. So on the screen, you have the bar at the top with all the people's faces.
You see all the people in that blue arrow?
Are you in full screen?
Right, no, I am not.
Okay.
Yes,
the blue arrow.
The blue arrow, go diagonal. There should be a block of 9 squares. Just
diagonal
right
to the bottom corner?
Up. Yep, towards the corner. Up.
Nope.
Wow. Okay.
I don't have that.
It's not. It
might be. Are you the host of this meeting?
No.
Oh, weird.
And I have a Mac. I have the gray bar that says Zoom meeting ID number 680140, right? And if you go over, there's the one that has the 2 arrows that does this.
No, I don't have that either.
Oh,
maybe I need to.
It goes away. Wait, hover in that corner where the black meets the gray. Just hover there for a second, and it'll appear.
Hover.
No, I was invited to update my Zoom this morning, so maybe this is part of the updated version.
Oh, maybe. Okay.
There you go. The importance of computer update. Okay, sorry. Let's go back to the meeting.
Well, here's our time that we can give overall thoughts and impressions of the last 2 days. We've had 2 full days of this. I realized during our break as I was sending off various emails, I thought, oh my gosh, we're not doing this tomorrow. That was kind of a big shock. Even though it's been rich and full, I didn't want it to stop, I guess. So other thoughts that people have had and impressions. And what do we want to do with it?
Well, I really enjoyed this. Of course, I missed not being able to actually see everybody in person in Chicago or out in Berkeley, because this has been, I've been going someplace for the last few years since Alaska, and this has just been nice. It's been so good to be able to see people like Laura, or I haven't seen her in a few years, so it's been really nice to actually see her face again. Darlene, of course, the last time I think I saw you in Chicago, you were pregnant again. And so, but it's very lovely to be able to see people. And we can talk on the phone, and that's really nice, but to actually have the visual is really great too, and I really appreciate that. So this is a great tool. I'm just thrilled with it. I really am.
I think this is, again, I'll agree with everything you just said, because it does not replace the dinner and sitting there on dessert and talking, but it is a close second. Yeah. And my question is, where do we go from now? Mm-hmm. I'm going to propose something. I want to be selfish. I want you guys each to start teaching me something now. I think we need to begin, as a community of practice, beginning to teach us. We want to get something out of it pretty soon, and I would love to see how each one of you are using anything that deals with heliophysics in your classroom. And
so, Vic, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, and teach me something.
Well, we did that with Lynn when she did her sun funnel, and I'm, one thing that we've talked about in the coordinators group is offering kind of like a spotlight feature like that. That to have each one of you pull up something, because there is such a variety, there is such a spectrum of experience, and not only years in teaching, but in what you teach and the areas that you teach. But just it doesn't have to be fancy. Lynn's was very off the cuff. She didn't do a PowerPoint or anything like that, but was very real and, was able to provide that real personal level. So what would you all think of something like that?
Yeah.
No pressure to be fancy or, no bells and whistles, but real stuff that you found really, really, effective in your classroom. Is that something that would be of interest? Is that kind of what you're thinking, Vic?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a really good idea to look at what we do with our students, and and even kind of like when we were problem solving last year, things that may not have worked, lessons, maybe it's a GEMS lesson that we did that crashed with the kids, and to present that to everybody and see if someone has an idea of what to do. I mean, every year, and I know that it's a really great lesson, but the whole balloon thing in the atmosphere with the space science sequence, I can't remember the name of it, but my students every year have a huge issue trying to graph where the balloon is in the atmosphere or where everything is happening in the atmosphere. So last year I just flat out did not do it. Because I knew what I was going to get back from my students. So whether it's my presentation of it or or I don't know, but it's just not something that works well for me. So.
Hello? Hi. Is it okay to talk or? Oh, okay. Yeah, a side project we're going to be doing up at Western Nevada College. The college president, Dr. Lucy, she's an astrophysicist. Her big thing was particle physics and brown dwarfs of all things. And we're finding a way to tie in the magnetometer data in the sun to muon detectors. I think we talked about before is that like cosmic rays are basically protons that come from extragalactic. They come from elsewhere, and when they impact, we're able to like detect muons, which I said were like electrons on steroids. They're a secondary particle when they impact the atmospheric gases. They turn into what's called mesons, pions, and then finally muons. There's a thing what Dr. Lucy wants to do is called the Forbush experiment. It's where basically what happens is that if there's any protons or CMEs coming from the sun, should they deflect any, in other words, if there's protons, electrons coming from the sun in a CME blast, will they reflect or deflect any cosmic rays, protons? So we should see a decrease in muon counts. And so that's kind of what she's kind of asked us to kind of, with the magnetometer, if we can tie that into some research there. And so we've been kind of playing around with that on the side here. And I know it's not directly related to heliophysics, but there's a connection. So that's kind of a side thing that might try to share maybe like in the fall or next year if we get that up and running.
That's really exciting, Jim. That's fabulous.
Who was the scientist you were working with, Jim?
Oh, she's our college president, Dr. Carol Lucy. She's the president of Western Nevada College, and she's getting ready to retire in a couple of years here, and she wants to spend more time up the observatory doing stuff of this nature. And we have our observatory director, Robert Collier. He got some students to work on muon detectors and build them, and we're kind of doing that on the side along with our magnetometer data and collecting it. But yeah, Carol Lucy is her name, and nice lady and stuff, and vast resource for us. The time I have, that's why I have students do everything for me. That's why I asked about lesson plans, because I'm really busy. I don't really have time to make lesson plans, so I always try to kind of like steal from other, well, I shouldn't say steal, but borrow from other teachers and modify from my class. So that's why this is great. If I can see people doing great lessons, I can borrow from them and use in my classroom without too much modification. But yeah, it is. It is very busy doing this. Also, this other thing called Recon Project and magnetometer, and also trying to be a husband too. It's very difficult. But that's why I try to get students involved as soon as possible, get them proficient to where I'm more of a supervisory role or facilitator, and they do most of the work, and then all I do is check for accuracy and make sure it's good, and then kind of go from there. That's kind of the secret, is to get students on board as soon as possible and get them proficient.
Mm-hmm. Well, we've definitely had a lot of rich possibilities come up in the last few, in the last couple of days, and a lot of interest springing up. Is there anything in, and there's many ways we could go about. We could, I think it's important, and I will say that I, with a capital I think, but that doesn't mean that the group thinks, that it will be important that we still connect together as a whole group so that we don't forget who these members are and who the entire piece is. But there's also a possibility that we could do, kind of side sessions more frequently, that maybe they're not an hour and a half long, maybe they're 45 minutes or an hour, although with this group, I think it's going to have to be an hour because we're also fascinated and love it. But, where we could explore some of these things more, or, we could have a discussion on, okay, how do we take the magnetometer information and the helio viewer and create activities? Re-examining the balloon launch activity, any of these pieces, and those who are not familiar with all of it would have an opportunity to learn alongside. There was some really amazing stuff that came up yesterday, I know is in the notes, about, all these possibilities where people could come if they wanted to, but you weren't obligated. But I'm also going to kind of pull one of the first things that Vic said in our initial conversation at the beginning yesterday was that, we really need to make an effort, all of us, to share, which is hard, not necessarily, this is what I'm doing, or, or that it has to be some sort of expertise, but even the cool movies that you make with Helio Viewer, or a snapshot, or a sharing of something that you've discovered or want to know more about, or questions. I'm hoping that after the last couple of days, this group feels like it's a safer place to ask questions, regardless of, I'm a big question asker. For as much as I talk on this thing, I'm a pretty quiet teacher. I usually answer questions with more questions, because to be able to ask them, means that we're interested, and it means we're curious. And how do we foster that curiosity amongst the rest of us and kind of stop the perpetuated cycle of elitism in learning and education? So what are some ideas about that? Does that sound, is that of interest, or does that spark other interests in people of where do we want to go with this? What are some passions that you see, or patterns or themes?
Here's where we need to practice science. We do something, if it doesn't work, we change it to make it work. So the idea is, let's do something, and if it works, great. If it doesn't, let's change it and do something else. But if we do not keep up the conversation that we're having, this will go the way of many exotic, extinct animals.
Yeah, I agree with Vic completely. I think that we definitely need to make sure that we keep our conversations going. If for nothing else, then we need the support. We absolutely need the support from each other. When we do talk to our colleagues about physics and teaching heliophysics, they look at us, or me in particular, they kind of look at me, and because I'm short, I always get patted on the head, and they say, "Oh, okay," and kind of condescending, but yet at the same time, it's do whatever you want to, Nancy, but they're not always receptive, and again, like good science, and I'll just bring into all of that what we have going on across the street from us right now. Currently, our interesting rocket scientists at NASA have been testing something called the Morpheus rocket engine. And this is going to be the new lunar excursion module, the lander for the moon. And it's been very interesting. And I take my students out there when they are testing this thing. And basically what we have is I give them a spreadsheet, and we look at how long that they fire off the engines. We look at how long that, that it's actually in suspended animation. And that means because they pull it up on a cable, they have a huge crane, they pull it up on a cable, and they get it up off the ground for a certain period of time, and then it's actually flying on its own for a while. So they have to evaluate that. But we also had the opportunity last year to watch the thing explode. And now we're across the road from them, into quite a distance, but we have seen them over the last 3 years set the field on fire, where they almost burned down the firehouse that literally is across the street from the school, to exploding the darn thing, but yet they were back out there again this year, and they were working on it again this year. And 2 students that I had this year, their dads were actually working on it. And it's just a lot of fun, and it's good science. So you never admit defeat, what is his name? Edison said, when he invented the light bulb, he didn't learn one way to invent it, he learned 99 ways not to. So it is important that we do reinvent ourselves, as we go along, because that is what science is. It's reinventing what we know about the world around us.
Asking the question, what is happening here, right?
Exactly.
Where have we seen it before? Does we care? Those are the 3 things that students need to know, right? Those are the questions. Maybe not quite so blatantly, but yeah, what is happening here? Whether it went right, and I will not soapbox about prescriptive experiments right now, but they have their place. I do them. But it only tells you under these conditions, this is what happens, right? And then when those conditions aren't precise, something else happens. But the students don't see that part. They just see A to B to C, right? And that's their picture of that phenomena. So yeah, you gotta, I don't know. I was the dangerous teacher, so. So Laura suggested that, I'm sorry not to try to call you out, Laura, but she suggested starting with having people share and kind of seeing where that goes from here. And we can weave in the pieces that we've done here with the missions and with the different sharing as well, and kind of see where that develops. We have what's this called? Zoom, and it's a great synchronous piece, and then we have the Wikio right now, and that's a great asynchronous piece. So as we think about things, or we experience something else and go, hey, remember when we were talking about blah? We were talking about the field setting on fire by testing engines. It happens to be those engines being, whatever it is, to be able to connect those experiences and give ourselves information. So I think that would be very simplistic to be able to implement right away for sure, and would be clearly deep and rich.
What I was just expanding on what Vic said. We all have great things that we do, so we pick somebody or a couple somebodies that do something similar that is of interest to the group, and we present it, talk about it, expand, keep going, or pick a new topic. Then we all get a chance to show off the good stuff that we know, incorporate the new stuff, come up with great new ideas, and it keeps rolling.
Awesome. You want to volunteer for next month? You don't have to answer now, Laura.
Way to go, Laura!
Thank you, Evie. Let me look at my calendar.
Actually, you get the easy one because you're not at least teaching, right?
Does not mean I am not swamped.
Oh, wait, but teachers have summers off, Laura.
Yeah. Great. I'm done.
That's awesome. Tuesday, July 6th. Okay, so we have a meeting on July 16th.
We do.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
That's our next one.
So, and we're doing it in this format, correct?
Is that correct, Nancy? I believe so. I think that would be probably best for everyone.
Yeah, we can use Zoom. The time is the same times as our previous monthly meetings. So that's 3:30 p.m. Pacific time. So you can do the math on that, and we'll send out the Zoom info. But there's nothing to say that we can't meet before then, especially if, like, for example, those interested in the GEONS, we could set up a separate optional meeting between now and then if you want to keep going on that. And same thing with the Helio viewer, or whatever interest there is. You tell us, and we can help you make that happen.
Okay.
Any final thoughts as we wind up here a little bit? You're also smiley. This whole tile vision is, I just see smiley faces.
Andy,
Yeah.
in the future now, would it be appropriate to actually have a student join us, an actual student that I have, and have them talk about what they're doing, or is that not? Is this a proper form for that?
I guess, Jim, I'm open. Maybe that's a conversation we can have on the Wikio. And I don't know. I'm speaking from my point of view, not from the point.
Yeah, because I have some students for their senior project next year. They're up here. They go to the observatory and they collect data and they do things, and they're familiar. One of the questions that came up was, how do I have time for this? I guess I want to say I'm kind of spoiled in that at big high school I just teach two subjects, astronomy and physics, so I can dedicate my whole astronomy class to just GEONS. In fact, back in 2010 to 2012, my whole astronomy class was basically GEONS, both semesters. That's all I did. That's all we did, collect data. And so that's why I was able to do a lot of things like that. And so, sometimes it's, I've learned, like when when I go to school board meetings, they don't want to hear from me. They want to hear from students. And sometimes if you hear from a student, sometimes it makes it more, wow, that's interesting, because, but, I'll see, maybe, if that's a possibility, we'll talk about that because I'm going to be meeting with some students in July about some things and maybe we'll touch bases on that.
I think, just my initial reaction, and again, I'm not speaking from the point of view from any of the coordinators or anybody else, please chime in, anybody. I think that's something that we could explore as a possibility. I don't know that the entire format would be appropriate for them, only because they'd be bored to tears and it might stifle some of the conversation that we had. But if there was a particular piece that they wanted to
yeah.
Or a particular piece you wanted them to hear about, if there's something coming up, I don't know, maybe that's something we want to explore. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, maybe just have them talk for 5 minutes or something like that.
So you're thinking more of like a student presentation kind of thing?
Oh yeah, something very
I
informal, or have them throw a PowerPoint or talk about it and stuff, and yeah, like 10 minutes maximum, 5 at the most, or something.
I don't know, what does the group think about something would that be interesting to you?
I think it would be interesting to listen to one of his students give a little bit of information about their senior presentation. And the other thing I'd like for them to do, Jim, is to not just give us information about their presentation, but how they needed you to assist them and what you did to help guide them in a specific direction. That's not you patting yourself on the back or having the kid pat you on the back, but that also helps us as classroom teachers to maybe guide our students in a direction a little bit better than maybe what we have been in the past.
Well, I think part of, in high school, part of it, I guess I want to use the word maverick because sometimes you have to kind of go against the grain because, like I say, sometimes when I have meetings with other teachers, they're sometimes adversarial in that, and so sometimes you have to, I'm a person that goes against, how do I say it? If I know what the rules are, I'll work around them. But, in other words, I'd say the principal basically leaves me alone because I tell them, here's the end result. Just don't ask me how I get there. I'll get there. I guess that's the kind of mentality you have to have because sometimes if you're too rigid or you're too much curriculum or you're too much, we have this thing called no longer race to the top, but HQSI, race to the top. We have T4S and all these modules. Actually, this T4S model is almost contradictory to the inquiry-based model, which is kind of how we're evaluated as teachers. And so I guess the first thing would be to do is you need to have freedom in your classroom to do things or explore things and not have too much oversight, because some teachers I talk to, especially in California, they're like, well, I can never do this because I have an administrator in my class 3 times a week watching what I do, and all the teachers have to teach the same thing at the same time at the same rate, and which is kind of difficult and stuff. But yeah, definitely talk to some teacher. Basically just having some freedom and leeway. As Vic said, he up there, he pretty much does what he wants to do, and I think Wendy and Laura do the same thing here. So we have some freedom. I guess that's the biggest thing, I think, is having academic freedom to do what you need to do in the classroom. I'm not sure if that makes sense or not.
Makes absolute sense.
So Nancy, there seems to be a lot of people who can't make the next meeting.
Right.
So is it possible to potentially move it by a week in one direction or another?
Sure. That's definitely possible. We'll just have to take a look at maybe take a look at a couple of dates and put it on a poll for Wigio and see when people are available.
Yep.
Sounds good.
Last call for comments before we do the last bit of housekeeping and get ready to sign off.
Andy, you said something about a questionnaire or a last evaluation you were looking for.
Yep.
Where is that at?
We're about to put it up on the site.
Okay.
Nancy, I were just talking about it. So it's just a SurveyMonkey link, and we're about to put it up on Wikio. So it'll be ready for you after we're done here.
Okay, I was just curious.
No, I'm glad. Thank you for being responsible, Vic. You know how important evaluation is.
Thank you for blaming me for everything that goes wrong.
I'm sorry, Vic. Say that again.
You just blame me for everything that goes wrong because I'm responsible.
Okay.
So anything goes wrong, I'm responsible.
Scapegoats are always a valuable piece of every community. Always, always. In my classroom, we had Sebastian, our fictitious student. So there, Nancy's put up the SurveyMonkey link in the box. We'll get that also up on Wikio. You just click on it and do take it. So that's the last piece. And I think we said by Monday. Is that correct, Nancy?
Yeah, and I just posted it on Wikio, so that'll come through there too. It's in the virtual retreat folder. You can fill it out at any time, but we would like to get your feedback by Monday because the coordinators were meeting on Monday to do a debriefing. So it would be nice to have your feedback at that point. And then the other thing is that once we get your feedback through the survey, I'll let Renee Frappier know, and she can start processing your honorarium for April, May, June. So that'll go in once we get that from you.
This was great.
Awesome. Well, did everybody have a chance to get their beverage of choice before?
Oh, yeah.
They sat down? Oh, yeah. I did not, so you have to excuse me. I was being responsible.
I'm not driving. I'm not going to be responsible. I have grandkids coming over in an hour. I don't have to be responsible at all. And they know that if they see my wine glass, that Olma is having medicine Kool-Aid. It is important.
Nancy, did you call it medicine Kool-Aid?
Yes, I did.
I love it.
Oh, I love it. Look at that. Yeah. So, yeah, I used to have medicine Coke when I would have, and that was a while back when I went through this thing again, like I was a teenager, that I just had this thing about rum and Coke again. I don't know why. Maybe it's menopause, midlife crisis. I don't know. But the girls would come over, and they were 5 and 6 at the time, and they'd go run and get my soda, and I'd tell them no, and they went, oh, and they would take a drink. They went, oh, Olma, you have medicine Coke? Yes, I do. Yes, and you can't have it. So now we have we've gone to medicine Kool-Aid. So I don't know how long I can really work on that because they're 10 and 11 now. So.
Yeah, I don't think you can get away with that any longer.
Not for a whole lot longer. Now the 2-year-old, I can still work on that one.
Okay, I don't have to feed my baby for a little bit, so I am going to enjoy.
Yay! Yes.
Clinky, clinky.
Okay, clink. We have to wait for Nancy so we can do our toast. My stepmother's Welsh.
Nancy's currently sprinting through the corridors with a 6-pack of beer. I'll give her a second.
Really? Five.
Oh my goodness.
Awesome.
You know,
Yeah, she
Jim,
just
I already beat you to Costco. Oh, Maggie's got beautiful Hawaiian. Is it just Hawaiian water? Is that what's in there? Or is it like some sort of coconut goodness? No, just water. Well,
Just water.
Oh, Nancy, the stories that Claire just told about you. Yeah, it was true.
I brought the sparkling water and some beer in for our team here, and I put them in the fridge in the other room, and I went running in, and the other people in the office are like, "What's going on? What's going on?" Running around the hall.
beer emergency. We need beer. I need beer. Yeah. Let's go.
I do have to say that I am finding more and more that the Berkeley people are some of my favorite people in the whole world. I love a fair.
I feel like it's TGI Fridays right now.
yeah, those lunch Fridays that we've been having, I think they could take a bit of a twist there, Darlene.
Yes.
That is good.
First and foremost, I would like to express our gratitude from the coordinators group of your commitment to this, even through all that we've had to all just from the inception into what we've got today and to today and where we're going in the future. So thank you for your willingness to do all of this and your support and your openness as we've gone along. I want to thank all of your dear families that allowed you to have this time to be able to do this, and that's not easy, I know, and especially when you've all been so busy all year, your families always want you a lot. So, and I also want to express my gratitude to my dear coordinators. What an amazing, awesome group that you guys are, and it's been such a joy to work with you guys on getting this up and running. So,
and likewise to you, Andy, the work that you and Nancy have put in over the past couple of months, the work these two guys have done, including Dawn and Ricky and everybody, it's been absolutely phenomenal. So,
well, it's mostly Nancy, so cheers to her.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Right,
Cheers.
Clink the glass. There we go.
Cheers to you guys.
Yay.
Cheers.
Cheers. Oh, have to watch Star Trek again. All right, we'll watch Star Trek.
All we need, and then our bonding will be complete.
We can watch it over Wikio or over Zoom. I have done that. I have watched a movie with friends over Zoom. So it is a possibility as a side
That's good.
That would be awesome because then we can make obnoxious comments in the chat window.
Oh,
oh, nice. Very nice.
My daughter's like, we just went to go see Star Trek again. And in the first time I was quiet, but the second time I was like, okay, we got to talk about this. You're wrecking it. Anyhow, so I'm trying to do that, but it's hard to watch movies with people who know physics.
It is. One of the interesting things on I don't remember if it was History Channel or the Discovery Channel, but somebody did a fact and fiction for the Star Trek movies, the two that are out, the new one, and it was really interesting when they were talking about warp speed and that you're actually going to meet yourself coming and going, and so it was really funny. And when I took, we've been to see the second one now 3 times, but went with my 28-year-old because she thinks that. Whoever it is that plays Captain Kirk, she thinks that that's her future husband. So I told her she better hurry up because she's freaking 28. But Chris Pine, that's what it is. And so she didn't care if he was, going through a wormhole or whatever it was. She just thought he was pretty. That's all she cared about. So it was pretty funny.
That's great.
Yeah. I guess this is not the group to admit to that I've never actually seen a Star Trek movie then, or Star Wars for that matter.
That's it. Let's pick a date. We're all sitting down, and at least you guys.
Oh my gosh! When I was a junior in high school, the first Star Wars came out, and we all skipped school, and we all went up to the movie theater and saw it because there was one theater in Houston that was showing it, and. We thought it was great. Everybody thought that Luke Skywalker was so handsome. No, I was all about Han Solo. He was more real. He was not so pretty.
What can I say? We don't have television in Ireland. We only got electricity like 2 or 3 years ago. So,
Please. My grandmother was from Killarney. No. Don't tell me that.
Nice try, Claire.
I told you I shouldn't have admitted it.
I suppose that now you're going to tell us you've never seen Doctor Who either.
Don't go there. Don't go there. Oh my God.
I watched David Tennant's Doctor Who. I did watch David Tennant.
I just got my husband.
David Tennant and Billy Piper were I watched those ones for a while.
Right, check this out. I just got this from my husband for Father's Day.
Oh, how cool.
And then, hold on, so that's one piece. And then, of course, he had to build it immediately.
Oh.
Nothing like Legos.
Yep. So I watched the kids while my husband returned to being 8 years old. Oh, he was like, "This is the best Father's Day ever."
I have to show my nerdiness. Now I gotta figure out I'm not smart enough here. So I've actually knit these.
Oh, very cool.
Oh my God!
I know. Taking orders. Let me know.
I want like 2 pairs. I love it so much. Oh my God!
I actually made them from a friend of my daughter's, and she was so jealous that she was like, "Are you kidding me? Like you're gonna give those to her and not to me?"
Oh my gosh! I just started knitting socks this winter, and I made them too short, and then I kind of gave up. They turned out to be cute, but a little too small. So now I have to wait for my daughter to fit into them.
There you go. Or you gift them to a friend or whatever.
I have the smallest feet of anyone I know, and they don't even fit me. So they're gonna have to go to a teenager, a very small teenager.
Okay, this is not my doing, but it's so impressive that I can't not share it. This was made by a friend of mine. It's not quite Doctor Who, but she made a full, like, 2 or 3 foot high Harry Potter birthday cake for friends.
That is way cool.
Isn't it crazy? She made the characters, they lit it, the whole thing was like, it was nuts. It was completely and utterly.
Look at the stained glass. Oh, wow.
Oh,
oh, that's cool.
Speaking of movies, if never ever go to a movie, never go to Harry Potter, number 2 of the final movie with someone who has never read the books and never watched any of the previous movies. So we went with our science teacher friend, and he spent the entire movie whispering, like, "Who is this guy? What's going on? Is Professor Snape Harry's father?" Oh my God.
I do want to say it is, I'm not stopping this, but if people feel that they need to go and that they've reached their capacity, but this is lovely to sit and talk with everybody too. So no one should feel that they're being rude if they do need to exit. But I know I've got a half a glass of wine yet to finish, so I'm not going anywhere.
I'm just
everybody wave at Vic. Bye, Vic.
Bye, Vic.
Bye.
Oh no, I'm empty.
Fill it up again.
That's a very good idea. Thank you for the suggestion. I'll be back.
The doctor said so.
All right, I better go too. It's nice seeing you guys.
It's nice to see you, Darlene. She has to go many miles before she drinks. It's my favorite Robert Frost poem. That's so great. Except for sleep, not drink, but. You're going to Costco, Jim? Have a good time.
Have a good time. Bye, Jim.
Hey, Costco.
They have great Chardonnay.
Well, yeah. So, no, it's been 98 degrees outside, and it's ridiculously hot. The humidity is at 80%. We just had another rain shower because it's so hot in the afternoon. The water coming off, or the clouds coming off the Gulf are so saturated. So anyway, I've enjoyed kind of watching little kids. Well, they're not little so much, but anyway, kids in the neighborhood riding their bicycles across, and then the rain comes down and they crash. It's kind of fun.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, highly entertaining. They're not so good at it. It's always fun for front porch.
We just have psychotic weather here. It was 87 yesterday or 2 days ago, and then it was freezing cold yesterday. It was 49, and today it's like somewhere in between. Just there's no summer here.
Well, Laura, didn't you have didn't you have some really crazy weather the last 2 weeks?
Not horrible. Today has been pretty stormy and rainy. It's like 40 degrees and pouring down rain. But last week was 85 and 90 and very summer. We were at the river every evening last week. This week I had to build a fire. Mountains is what it does.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
And I would be okay with it if I knew I lived in a place that, I hate high summer here. It's going to be lovely being by the lake, but I grew up in central Iowa where there's no wind ever in the middle of July, right? It's like hotter than sticks. But this is nuts. I love being up north. I'm really more of a cool person, but I want to know it's going to be cool, not like, 100 one day and 50 the next. Yeah, that's psycho.
It's a bit like that here as well, although I can't complain too much because when I moved here first and they told me it wouldn't rain between June and October, I laughed out loud. I'm like, that doesn't what? Because in Ireland, if it doesn't rain for more than 2 weeks, they declare it like a drought. Like, I'm being serious. It makes the news. It's a serious deal. And so my first year here, it was like the end of September and I was in DC for a work trip and it started to rain and I was like, what is this stuff? I don't understand. And at that point I hadn't even realized that it hadn't rained in that long. So, the weather can do what it likes as long as the rain stays away.
When my grandmother moved from Killarney to Toronto, she was a little girl and she had made those comments as well. And then we moved down to Texas, New York, and her big thing about Texas, especially in July and August, she used to say that it was beastly hot. And she couldn't stand it, so she would go back.
What I want to know, Nancy, is how people in San Antonio don't fall into the river on the Riverwalk. We just sat there and ate dinner at an NSTA, and the people were insanely inebriated down there. Yeah. And I thought, how do more people not die and drown? There's no fences.
Well, but the river going through there is only about 4 foot deep. Where all the pedestrians are. If you notice the boats that they have, they're flat bottom boats.
Yeah.
So I'm sure that there's quite a few drunks that end up in the river and then climb back out. It does happen. So, but I haven't seen them do that. Not to say that they haven't, but I haven't seen them do that.
I just couldn't believe. People were just like, it was just nuts. And Ruth and Cassie and I are sitting there just watching these people, going, "Oh my goodness, I would be." I don't know, but I think about Florida because if you do that in Miami, you're crocodile bait. So it's like you go nowhere near the canals and. No. And it does weed out the weak, Laura, for sure.
Yeah, well, we have Galveston Bay and we have the Gulf of Mexico right out by me, only about 20 miles away from where I am. So it's incredibly humid here, but a lot of people go down to the beach, go down to Galveston Island, and they, if they're staying at the state park, then they'll build campfires and that sort of thing. Why we do that during the summertime, I don't know, because it's hot. But, it's just one of those comfort things. And, but we have had 2 shark attacks this last week. So that's kind of cool.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. So, and it's the sad but funny thing about it is it's always some unfortunate teenage boy who thinks that he can go past what's called the second sandbar. So he's going pretty far out, even though it's rather shallow. But they go past the second sandbar, and that's not a smart thing to do anyway. Everybody who's lived here knows this. So anyway, this one, just I guess a couple of days ago, it was on the news that, he had to have reconstructive surgery to his leg, and he said that he beat the shark off with his other hand. Well, don't go out the second sandbar. People know this, and they're not big sharks. They're just small nurse sharks. They're only about 3 or 4 foot long. So they don't kill anybody. They just gnaw at you and do a little bit of damage.
I don't know. San Diego turns you off of that. Like, sharks, man, no way.
Yeah.
No, thank you.
Yeah.
No, you don't. No, Laura, you live like in paradise. It's just lovely where Laura lives. It's
the look on her face wasn't so paradisal.
She has spiders or snakes or sharks or alligators. The temperatures are lovely. It's green. Mountains.
I'll have forest fires in a month.
This is true.
Oh yeah.
This is true.
Hey Laura, are you doing the fire watch again this summer? I remember last year at the HEA reunion, you were going to some tower.
That's right.
I need too much money to not do it. It is crazy lucrative, so I'm on the list. But it's an on-call thing, so I got a month before I have to do anything.
So do you do the firefighting, or do you just are doing fire watching?
I sit on a tower 100 feet in the air and look for smoke.
Oh.
For $250 a day.
Oh, well. Do you have an ice chest with adult beverages?
I can't drink because I have to come home, but
I
can read a book. I wear mittens. I give my kids walkie-talkies and say, go play. Lost, I can see them.
That's a nice extra job. I like that idea.
Yeah, it works.
So now, how old are your kids? It's been a while.
10 and 8. Yeah.
Oh my.
And I was looking when I was getting the magnetometer data for everyone.
Uh-huh.
Our school information, when we put it all together, I was pregnant with my 8-year-old. So the picture of me on there is old.
Wow.
Kind of funny.
Yeah, that has been a while. I think the funniest picture I took in Alaska was when we were climbing the mountain, and Darlene, here she is, 4 months pregnant. She scrambles to the top of the mountain. Do you remember that? And she stood up there and she has her arms out, barely looking pregnant because she's so tiny anyway. And all I kept thinking was, God, I hope she doesn't fall. Well, I'm going to sign off. My granddaughters just got here, so I have to learn how to be responsible now.
Let's put the wine away. Go be grandma.
Bye. It was great to see everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
I gotta go too. I got baby stars to find.
Yay. Bye, Laura.
Bye. And then there were 5.
Well, Andy, I just want to say from the bottom of my heart, thank you. Because you have done an amazing job with the planning and facilitation. And I mean, it just with everything, you really kept this going. And thank you very much for that.
You're on mute, Andy.
Probably better that way. I just took the pieces.
You're doing an interpretive dance.
So my daughter goes to a Waldorf school, and we always call that, we could always do interpretive eurythmy because they do word and movement, and some people call it dancing, but it's not. And anyways, that would have been interpretive eurythmy. I just took the pieces that you guys had. That's all I did is took what we came up with together and did what we all decided to do together. So, but it's been fun.
Definitely been a team effort for sure.
Absolutely.
But, yeah, and Claire, thank you so much too. You've been awesome being our science advisor.